Weird Ones Go Productions.
This stuff's creepy.
I wake up and I see 3 figures standing at the end of the bed.
They actually saw some 7 to 8 foot tall, hair-covered ape-men looking creatures that were looking at them through the trees.
Reality stranger than fiction.
I see this bipedal creature peeking out behind a tree.
Welcome to where the weird ones are! You're so weird.
Hello everyone, it's Connie over on the YouTube channel Talk Spooky to Me, and currently you are listening to Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that. If you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with another podcast that I've been listening to for a while now, so I'm excited to have a chat with them. But before we get started, like I do with every episode, I just want to shout out that if you are out there having any kind of mental distress, please, here in the United States, dial or text 988. That is a good resource to use for any mental distress that you are going through. You deserve to be here. I do believe that we are all connected in some kind of way. So, yeah. So please utilize that resource. It's there for a reason. So stay another day in June's Men's Mental Health Month anyway. So I figured I'd throw that out there. But anyway, so I wanted to introduce you guys to, if you haven't heard of them, the Nephilim Death Squad. And I'm super excited. So, hey guys, if you don't mind letting the people know out there that may not know you, a little bit about your show and about yourselves.
Sure. So I'm Raven. This is my co-host Top Lobster. We do.
And I'm pretty sure it's Pride Month.
Is it Pride Month?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, not allowed to do Men's Health Month
Fix your shit.
in the month of the gay.
Where's your gay stuff, bro?
You can find Nephilim Death Squad anywhere you find podcasts. Our show is a conspiracy show with a focus on Christianity.
Just say dumpster fire. And
it's a dumpster fire. Yeah, it's a show for it's also for the mentally unwell. So if you happen to find yourself in that category, then you might just be our people. You can find us on YouTube and any of your audio podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Yeah, man. So we talk a lot about, you know, the conspiracy of the day, and we look at it through a Christian lens, but we're also fundamentally retarded. So, you know, it's sometimes it's funny.
You guys do an amazing job. I think there's a lot of good information and a lot of humor that come along with it, and I am functionally retarded as well. As we just found out right at the beginning of this, I needed to turn my volume up so I can fucking hear you guys.
I gotta say, I've been doing this for podcasting maybe 6 years. That I've never seen that kind of technical difficulty. He's like, I just didn't turn the volume on.
Honestly, though, that's one that I would display regularly if it wasn't for Top. But Top's the wires and tech guy, and without him, you know, I'd be doing it out of cell phone still. So I feel you, Kev. I don't know, you know, where the volume knob is either.
How long you been doing your show for?
3 going on 4 years almost.
Okay.
Just about that. I think I started in 22, so yeah, almost 4. Just
nice.
about.
What made you get into it this way? Because this is like a serious thing when you start to dedicate that much time to a podcast. Why'd you start?
So all right, I'll give you the whole rundown. So it was the year of the desolate 2020, where you know, I feel like there's so many podcasts that were born out of that time anyway. But so I had a really good friend of mine who started like he started a podcast himself. He was doing it in his basement. It's kind of set up like a Joe Rogan kind of thing where people sat across from the table from him and stuff like that. And I went on his show and we just shot the shit like we normally do. And I had a fun time with it. And then I went on his show for a second time. And then after we were done, he was like, "Hey, listen, there's a couple podcasts that I think you should listen to. You should check it out." Because he was trying to tell me these, like, flew me in on the conspiracy. So this was like around the time that I was like really red pilled and all that. And so I started listening to this conspiracy podcast that he suggested. And then from that podcast, I came across the paranormal podcast, and which I found both of you guys on both of those podcasts, by the way.
Which shows were those?
Yeah.
So it was Tinfoil Hat and the Confessionals.
Okay.
So
Oh,
both
we
of
haven't
those.
been on the confessionals.
No, I imagine we probably came up on the
Oh, did we?
confessionals. I think so. Yeah, there was like some time a few years ago, maybe a year or so, when somebody was like telling
that
us.
black dude said something, right?
Yeah, somebody was talking about us, but we've never.
Oh.
I mean, we know Tony.
And I was
Tony's
like,
been on our show.
Keep your name, keep my name out of your mouth.
No,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but we know those guys. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was really Tony's show that I was listening to, and I was like, I've had so many experiences myself, and I would love to chat with people about experiences, and I could do conspiracies too because I enjoy those. And then I told him about it, and he's like, "You know what? You should do that, and I'll help you." So that's really how it came about, and the name was really weird to come across. I went through like 5 or 6 names and settled on Where the Weird Ones Are, which is a play on the book. I don't know if you guys remember it.
Where the wild ones
From-
are, yeah.
Yeah. So so then it just kind of blossomed through there. The first like year and a half was really slow and really rough, and I wasn't sure if it was gonna continue and make it to where it is now. But it's been a lot of fun and meet a lot of good people. You guys are familiar with Justin Brown, the Doc. He's become a really good friend of mine. But I wanted to ask you guys too, what made you guys want to start your podcast?
Love of money and fame.
Proclivity for spreading lies.
Lying, wanting to lie. No, so
It's a great platform for that.
I had been a conspiracy theorist for a long time, and I went through something, I guess a supernatural experience. I've had a lot, but one of them was pretty profound, and we'll probably end up getting into it here. But it led me to the confessionals as well, and I was a member there. And so was Top, and we didn't know each other at all, but he had a sense of humor that I just felt like there was something that kind of drew me to. I don't really go out of my way to talk to people. I mean, it sounds stupid. I do a show where I talk to people, but really I mean, like, I really don't. And for whatever reason, this dude was like, something was saying like, "Oh, go talk to him."
Dave's the type of dude he's like, "Yo, let's do like a large live event and invite a bunch of comedians and celebrities and stuff." And I was like, "Great, yeah, and fans too." Right? He's like, "Yeah, fans." And then they show up and he goes, "I'm not talking to any of these people."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You have to. We've invited them here.
Yes.
You've got it." And he's like, "I simply will not."
I do things against my own best interest very often. But, we start having a little bit of a back and forth. And I was doing a show at the time that was very much like your show, where I was exploring these experiences. Of course, these experiences lead to conspiracy. And I asked him, because of a conversation that we had gotten into, mutual interest in conspiracy and paranormal. I said, "Hey man, I do this show. Maybe you listen to it." One thing leads to another. He actually listens to it. I don't know if you know how unlikely that is. You meet somebody and you go, "Hey, I do a show on the internet where I talk for like 2 hours at a time. Why don't you dedicate 2 hours to listening to it?" And, but he did. And he came back and said, "Maybe there's something interesting to do here." One thing led to another, and we started the show. So for me, and I'm sure I can speak for Top too, it's birthed out of this really severe interest in the truth. That's really what it is. And then it just so happens we're kind of silly guys, so it was palatable. we find comedy helps to swallow some of these pills.
Yeah, but I think the birthing of this show was definitely through supernatural experiences. That's what I was trying to do with my show that I kind of started but didn't really do. I was interviewing people that had those type of experiences. People like my aunt, my cousin. There was a couple of other people before we just decided, hey, like let's just do it together.
Yeah.
And talk to. But then it ended up into something. It ends up going from like an interview show about experiences, which is very much Merkel's lane, and then we got into like talking to other interesting people in general conspiracy, sometimes in politics, and we got away from politics, and then we're into like talking to experts, and we ended up in like a weird biblical lane. I guess all roads lead to there anyway. If you're kind of looking, especially with the supernatural testimony, if you're looking at it correctly, you're going to start to see some solutions and answers along the biblical route. So like we started searching more there, and then now the show is where it's at. It's a show where you say racial slurs and then quote the Bible.
Yeah. Which is jarring for a lot of people. And but that I think it starts with this.
I don't like it.
No, I actually don't like the show at all. I think it starts with this seed, and that seed is supernatural things are happening, and they seem to stop in the name of Jesus Christ. And that's a huge, like, how would you describe that? Like, so many things are birthed from that. So many what ifs are birthed from that idea right there. People are having experiences with all sorts of crap.
It's funny that you said like that sentence. So those are two separate thoughts, right? Supernatural things are happening and they stop in the name of Jesus. It's like, well, most people are like, supernatural things are happening?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's hard enough.
And like, I meet this guy in a forum online or like Twitter, and we're like, supernatural things are happening. He's like, you're fucking right, they are. Like, you want to talk about it? It's like, kinda.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk to other crazy people about this shit, and then here we are a couple years later.
The evolution of it is really that, right? I mean, if that is the seed that's planted, okay, there are things that are happening. I was very comfortable with that. And also the grand conspiracy of things is that there's a satanic agenda, and I was very comfortable with that as well. Okay, so there's a satanic agenda and supernatural shit is happening, and that supernatural shit stops in the name of Jesus Christ.
Honestly, a good name. Supernatural shit is happening.
Supernatural shit is happening is a good name. And that just blooms, man, because if you're being honest and you keep tugging at that particular string, it keeps giving and keeps giving and keeps giving. So the show is and has been us pulling at that string, and you watch it naturally progress. We went from whatever we were to whatever we are now. And I think that's why people enjoy the show as much as they do, is because it's not just about whatever conspiracy is happening. It's about us developing, which wasn't necessarily the intention. But if you're being honest, you're going to develop. So,
yeah, I got a question for you,
sure.
Kevin. Whatever. I'm going to ask you questions on your show. I don't give a shit. So as we're doing the show, right? It's like you said, you're pulling on a string, but as you're pulling on the string, there's many phrases that you can kind of go off on and pull on that string. And I often wonder, I was like, damn, we pulled on this string, we ended up here. What kind of strings have you seen?
What have come across the table
throughout your interviews, and like where do you end up?
Honestly, this pretty much similar thing where everything just kind of leads back to Jesus and the Creator. Where everybody seems to have similar experiences to where I think that everybody is connected in some kind of way. So like to make it so we're all a part of the Creator's consciousness. We're extensions of that, in my opinion. And people can disagree with it, whatever. But I think when something happens to one of us, it affects everybody in different kind of ways at different times, if that makes any kind of sense. But everybody seems to have, if not one, maybe several similar experiences. Everybody that I've talked to sees shadow people. And that shadow people have been said to be like us in the future, or people in the past, and they're viewing the future and they're looking at us as shadow people and this and that.
Are you located in Appalachia?
I am, yes.
Yeah,
the northern part.
What were we we were reading some stories yesterday, and this one of the listeners of the show. He's in Appalachia, and it's just like
he's like a forest ranger there.
Becomes very
Or
obvious that if you are there, you have a lot of experiences, and I get it. The mountains are old and such, but it's uncanny because it's no shortage of people who have had a lifetime of strange experiences all along that mountain line.
And we were actually arguing with Matt, our boss. He's the owner that we operate out of a coffee shop, and he tells us what to do.
That's true. We don't do it, but he does tell us what to
do. But we were talking about a similar idea, like what kind of with a shadow person, but the story was that the person saw an apparition float through a daycare in an old church, and then it disappears, and it turns out that the apparition he saw was a lady that used to work at the daycare there, and it was buried on the premises. So now the question is, the question is that a ghost? Where are we at with ghosts? Where are we at with time travel? Or is that like my theory on that specifically would be more like a stone tape theory, where she spent so much time in that building that the live materials inside of that building just replicate and replay her to people who have eyes to see it, I suppose, at certain times. Maybe like, if it's 3 a.m, I think it was the middle of the night, right?
Yeah. So if you just think about the kind of the cyclical nature, right? Yeah. Everything is constantly almost replaying in some way. That time has a spiral almost to it. And so maybe when it passes that spiral again, there she is again.
Yeah, there she is. But it's not her. I don't think it's really her, like, consciously. I think that when you die, you die. Every man's designated to go to live once and die once, and they go to, hell, they go to heaven, they go to a waiting place. Back in the day, it would be like Sheol, where they're in Abraham's bosom. So I don't know, but I don't think that person's there. I think that's like more of a, just like an echo in time of like what was, because of the live material that's constantly around us. But what's your theory on that?
I'd say like I'm right there with you. Like I think that once we die, maybe our spirit spends a little bit of time here, like you said, like almost like a waiting room, like we're just on the other side of the veil, but we're not really gone yet. But I do think that we are constantly being like, it's almost like the record is stuck kind of thing, where we're just replaying. It's just like it's residual energy is the word that I'm thinking of, where it's just replaying, and it's just memorizing what was once there. But like you said, it's not really the spirit. It's just something that's replaying what it's replaying a memory.
Yeah, I think what could be the determining factor as to what moment gets replayed is the individual that was there in that time, in their reality,
For sure.
How they were emotionally. Because I do think emotional energy is, so that's why if it's a highly charged emotional event like a murder or something like that, that'll replay. But if she's walking down that hallway
to see her child or something,
maybe she's filled with, it could be overwhelmingly positive energy, overwhelmingly negative, but it has to be, I don't think you get a replay of like checking the refrigerator. You know what I mean? Like something that's not, and maybe you will if your head is filled with demons at the time. You know what I mean? If you're in your refrigerator late one night because you can't get to sleep because you're filled with despair, well, then maybe in that case, you'll get the refrigerator ghost in the future. But I think it has a lot to do with the energy that human beings are putting off in that moment.
Sure. I believe that's that same thing. That I grew up seeing shadow people all the time, and for a long time I was like, well, if I'm seeing these people, then we're either people aren't going to heaven, or they're not going to hell, or they're not going to either. Because when I was a kid, my conception of that was that when we die, we go to one or the other place, and there's no in between. And so when I started seeing these people, I was like, well, what the hell is what is happening? What is wrong with me? First, I thought there was something wrong with me, and then I started becoming like an atheist, I guess. And I went through a lot of like childhood trauma with my mother, blah 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 blah. And so as a teenager, I was like really angry, and that was the only time that I was never like plagued by anything supernatural. It was when I was like in this my hood rat phase, I guess you could say, where I was
You wigger?
fighting people. Yes, yes, I very much was. I was very like tried to represent myself as G'd up from the feet up, and all that. So but I was so angry through
Yeah.
that period of my life and I wasn't experiencing any of that stuff anymore. And then when it was a little bit later, and I started experiencing again, I started to calm down and I started to heal myself from, childhood trauma and stuff. And then I started experiencing stuff. And then, we just moved out of my house and we're in the middle of selling it. We close on it on Wednesday. Thank God. And then, my son, he just turned 17 in November, and he's talking about God, and he's wearing these shirts that have scripture on it. He's got a necklace, and he's talking about, we got to come to Jesus and this and that. And he preaches to kids at high school and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I start believing. It's like really he opened the door for me.
That's awesome.
And so now now I wear a cross around my neck, and I'm not really a jewelry person. And so once I started doing that, then all of a sudden these shadow people started showing up again.
Yes.
And then that's when I was like, there's something to this. And like, so I just tried this, just like you said, right at the beginning. They were in my hallway. There was one of them, and I just said, in the name of Jesus, if you have bad intentions, you're not allowed here. And poof, it was gone. So
Yeah, man.
there's obviously something, and a lot of people are like, it's the intention, it's not really the name. And I was like, well, I don't know, it's always that
Well, the
name
Bible
that
literally says it's the name. That's the thing
Yeah.
that gets me, is like a lot of people, they don't have any sort of framework for the things that they say when they say that. They go like, oh, well, it's just about your intentions. You can call on any name. It's like, no, specifically the Bible says that. And it elaborates as to why the name of Christ works. And, once you start to understand it, it all makes a lot of sense. But that whole idea of beginning your walk with Christ and then all of a sudden all that shit starts happening, a lot of people will say that that's the case. And I say that that's the case because that definitively happened to me when I, there's a longer story, and I think we should ease into it because it takes up quite a bit of time. But I had an event, and I ended up calling on Christ, and I was not Christian, and it stopped that event, and we can get into that a little bit later. But that forever oriented me towards Jesus, and in such a way that it ultimately leads to us doing this show now, or at least, from my perspective. And there was a time where this was a slow coming, right? This happened, I'm 35 now. This event happened when I was 30, I guess. Yeah, because this was like 2020.
He's gonna come.
And so it took a couple of years before I even really started really moving in that. It was kind of like I was just sitting in the wake of what had happened, and I had all this conspiracy information in my head. And but around 30, I guess 33, 32, 33, I started to really move in this direction. That was like listening to Merkel and things like that. But I came to Florida, and that's where I ended up meeting Top. And I bought a house. And during that time, I am starting to move towards Christianity, but very slowly. And I'm also doing it quietly. It's not like something I'm sharing with my wife or my son. My son is little at the time anyway. And like, it took me a long time to draw the correlation, but man, the activity in that house was insane. Now, I had that previous experience I alluded to, and I called on Christ. So I had that as a base. Like, I knew that I could do that. And I was understanding a little bit about the spiritual realm, consent, and things of that nature, giving these things access to you. And I had learned that through Merkel's podcast. So when I'm in this house, what's happening is I've got me, my wife, my son, my cousin, and my niece. They're renting rooms from me. So we're all living in this house. And daily, and nightly, there are knocks, like clear knocks on my doors and on my windows. And it becomes so obvious. Like, it's not like a thing that happens every once in a while. It was happening constantly. We all heard it. We all knew that it was the thing that was happening. We all just kind of like espoused word salad. When it would happen, we go, fucking some shit at the door and the windows again. There it goes. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It got to the point where one day my cousin and I, he's the same age as me. He's kind of like almost like a brother to me. We're sitting up by my front door. I'm standing and he's sitting down. Something knocks on the front door, but I'm within arm's reach, dude. So I grab the handle and unlock it and rip the door open, and we run outside. We run outside because we're very familiar with this. This is happening all the time. And this time, we're going to see it. Whatever it is, we're going to see it. And we run outside. My cousin goes one way, I go the other way, and there's nothing. It's kind of dusk, but my porch light is illuminating like my front, my grass, my patio, and I see nothing. He sees nothing. Out of the corner of my eye, I see just a skittering black mass, but it's under the light. Like if it was under the light and it was a possum, I'd have seen a possum. It was a
Right.
black shade, a shadow, but it was like a mass, and it was moving across my lawn. And then my cousin goes, "What's that?" And he points down to the corner, and there's a man, the silhouette of a man, underneath the street lamp. But he's under the street lamp. Why is he a silhouette? So we go back inside, and we're like, I don't know what the hell that is. At the same time that that's happening, my niece is telling me that she's got a floor-to-ceiling window in her bedroom. And nightly, there is a man standing in her window who is the height of the window. It's a floor-to-ceiling window. So this thing is what? I don't know, 8 feet tall? And there's black flies, like huge black flies. My garage is filled with black flies. I empty everything out of my garage, dude. Every garbage can, my workbench, my dryer, my washer, everything. And I clean everything, sweep everything out, scrub the floors, put everything back in. The black flies return almost like the same week they return. And they're huge, and there's like hundreds of them, and we can't get rid of them. And I never draw the correlation that this is what's happening. I'll be sleeping behind my bed, on my window. And I get out of bed, and I get the gun, and I sweep the house, and I go outside, and there's nothing there. And eventually, I have to come to terms with like something else is going on. And I thought, well, I'm the new owner of this home, right? So legally, I own this home. Well, the bank owns the home, but legally, I own the home. This is in my name. And whatever was attached to the previous owners, therefore, based on my limited understanding of the spiritual realm, has no rights to be here anymore. But I've not really evicted these things. So I start to call out in the name of Christ for these things to leave my house and leave my property, that they have no right to be here, that I'm the rightful owner, and these things have no right to be here. Dude, I'm like, number one, it stops after that. It stops after like 2 or 3 instances of that. It takes like a couple of times for me to do it, and it all stops, which is weird because the phenomenon was so like so constant. It was constant. It wasn't like hearing a knock every once in a while. It's like daily and nightly this phenomenon was happening, and it all stops. There was nights previous before it stopped that I would wake up because I could feel, like maybe you know what I'm talking about, Kev, maybe your audience does. I could feel the room was like, this room is fucked up. Something is wrong. Something is like here. And I can't see anything, but I could feel it. And I could feel like dread, and I could feel almost like an electric, quality to the air. And I'd stay up for a little bit, scroll my phone. I'd eventually fall back asleep. The next morning, my wife would be like, room felt really weird last night. And I'd be like, you fucking felt that too, right? Like it was like tangible. Like we could all tell. And after that, like 2 or 3 sessions of calling on Christ and claiming like authority over my household, it stops.
That's amazing. It's really interesting the way it works. It's because it's almost immediate. And you're talking about like the are you talking about like how heavy it feels while you're in it while everything's happening, or are you talking about the lightness that it felt afterwards after
I'm
you
saying,
invoke the
Good
name?
question.
so those nights,
Well, yeah, were you aware of how heavy of an atmosphere you were in the entire time?
I don't think the atmosphere changed. I put myself in a weird position, like, you know, renting rooms to people and people owing you money. It just makes
Oh,
for like a kind of and also it was like my cousin was my childhood best friend in a lot of ways. So we grew up drinking and smoking and, committing all kinds of debauchery. So having him there was like this energy, that was like very much like a time when I was really lost. So I don't think necessarily that goes away. I've since moved from that, and now like you can tell it's like this fresh, clean energy that's not like that anymore. But what did go away specifically was the man in the window, the knocking on the doors and windows, the black flies, and that, like, you want to talk about like a heavy oppressive feeling, those bedroom nights, which were like pretty often. It's weird how I became accustomed to it. Like it was I didn't see it as really abnormal. It's not like I ever it's not like I ever had a place like that I lived in that was as spiritually oppressive. Like I'd been married for a while by that point, and it just wasn't the norm. For the place that we came from previously didn't have that. We weren't waking up regularly and being like, yeah, fucking the room was not good last night. The room was not good last night. Like I don't know. It seems like such a throwaway thing to say, but it was so regular. On a regular basis, we were saying this to each other, like, yeah, man. And there was just like, this kind of went on probably for a good 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 months. So 4 months, however many days that is, days and nights. What is that? 120 days and nights. And it didn't really feel that bizarre, which it should have been. Like if it happened right now, I'd be like, no, something's wrong. One day of that, and I'd have been praying. But 4 months of that, and it was just like, yep, another one of those nights, another night of knocking on the windows, another night of, I was killing the flies regularly. I was going in the garage and I was swatting them out of the air. I was catching them out of the air because they were like these big, slow, black, fat flies that you could just catch out of the air. They were so big and slow, and there was so many of them. And I wouldn't think anything of it. It's like a weird picture to paint, manically for hours on end in the garage catching flies, just killing them. I would kill hundreds of flies, and they'd be back in like a day or two, and never connecting this. So if there was a heaviness to that house, it was like a delusion. It was like something that was keeping me from seeing clearly what this was.
that's interesting. I've had kind of like a similar thing with the flies. I never really connected it to like anything spiritually, but I had just split up from my ex-girlfriend, and she was on something else. But anyways, these two windows in this kitchen of this apartment, had flies around them all the time. And I would kill them every day. I started putting up those stupid stringy things that catches them and whatever. And it was like 2 months straight of just constantly every day there was like a new batch of flies. And then I started talking to my ex again, and we started getting back together. And as soon as she came back into the pictures, the flies went away. And I never really thought of that until now. And I think that she was a lesson that I needed to learn, because I'm not saying that I never did anything wrong either, but there's something attached to her that I think. So, um, I don't really,
Well, like another, so, another word for Satan is Beelzebub,
yeah,
and
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
Mm-hmm.
And so my connection, Kev, didn't come till like later on when I was like, I remembered every horror movie I ever saw.
yeah,
Where,
like
the flies,
Amityville.
Yeah, dude. Like the flies are part of the whole bag. That's what I mean. Like it was like a spiritual veil. I couldn't see what this was. It's very strange. And I like to think I kind of knew my shit. I mean, I wasn't really close to God at that time. I was just beginning my walk, but like I was so familiar with the paranormal, with the supernatural, you know, all kinds of events throughout my life. And that creates all sorts of interest in studying it. And like I couldn't see this. Very strange.
Like,
And
when you were in this, did you have like before? Well, actually, going before this all really started, did you have any kind of like stressors, any kind of like mentally anything going on with you?
Yeah, I mean,
you just bought a new house. So
I bought a new
crazy.
house and I was
Right.
trying to support like my family and my extended family. And
You just moved from the desert.
yeah, well, at that time I had moved from New Jersey because I went to Las Vegas and back to New Jersey. But the stressors were just the regular ones of like, stupid shit starts happening. They adjust your property taxes, they adjust your escrow, and all of a sudden your mortgage starts going up and shit. And like, it wasn't that early. Honestly, to be perfectly honest, there is a connection, I think, to my cousin where he just opens up these old routines in my mind. You know what I mean? Because like I was homeless when I was younger, and I was homeless with him. And so whatever drugs we were doing and drugs we were selling and trouble we were getting into, the times I spent with him, it was like I didn't see him through my childhood. I met him and was homeless with him through my teenage years. And then he left, to a different state in my very early 20s. And then I didn't see him again until basically this. And I think there's like and I don't mean this in a negative way. I love my cousin. I think he's got like a hitchhiker. He's got an attachment. It plays really well with my, attachments that I think I had at a point. And so, yeah, it wasn't so much the stresses yet, because for all intents and purposes, I should have been in this beautiful renaissance of a period. It was like I was a homeowner and I landed a good job and everything was really wonderful. But like he's got something that doesn't play well with my something. And I think that was on full display at that point. Plus, I don't know if it's the area, but coincidentally, and it's not coincidence. There's an app called the
Grinder.
No, there's an app called Neighborhood, the Neighborhood app. I don't have it anymore.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of like tells you what's going on around the neighborhood. It's like Facebook for all your neighbors to gossip about each other. The one guy who doesn't bring his trash in from the curb ever, and the other guy who's got cars parked on his lawn.
Yeah.
And I searched for like knocking on door, and it's insane. In my few block radius, everybody is saying that people are knocking on their doors and windows at all hours of the night.
Oh, that's interesting.
And some people would say it's teenagers. And I would go, they figured it out. And I'd click on the post and people would be like, so you saw them? And they'd be like, no. And we're like, well, how do you know it's teenagers? And be like, because what else could it be? And then they would be like, I think it's teenagers too. And then somebody would be like, yeah, but I had them knocking and my Ring camera shows nobody there. So that's when I realized like something else is going on. And I think that even though I was in a good place, I think I might have been subjected to some territorial spirits or something. Who knows what, Florida's a weird area when it comes to like, I think like the Seminole Indians or some shit. So if it's an Indian cursed ground type of deal, who the hell, I'll never know. I don't think there's any way to figure that out. But I did have an experience when I first moved in that kind of kicked all this off. And I had a puppy. I was walking the puppy, and one of my neighbors was screaming at his wife. It's very like embarrassing. It was echoing through the streets, and I was like, oh shit, like they're really going at it. He was like, F you this, F you that. And the voices were so loud that the puppy kind of like froze up. And I'm trying to get her to walk, and she won't walk. And I'm kind of curious though, like as to what's going on. So I stick around anyway. And I'm only like across the street from the house. and I pick up on the idea that basically the wife left something of importance, maybe a cell phone or something somewhere. Now they've got to get in the car and they got to backtrack. So they do that, and they're, motherfucking each other, this and that. And they get in the car and they leave. And I take note. I'm like, damn, they left everything. They left their lights on. They left their garage door wide open. Like their house you could see right into it because their big, front window and the front door is also made of glass. So you could just see into their open house, like their whole layout. And I'm like, that's crazy. And all of a sudden I noticed that there's a family approaching. And as a first time homeowner and a dude with a puppy and new to the neighborhood, I'm like excited because this is going to be a wholesome interaction. I'm kind of on that, like, I don't know, you're a first time homeowner. I'm like a normal human now, despite all the weird demonic shit in my life. I'm a normal guy. And so I'm anticipating this interaction, dude. And I can see them come in and they smile and I smile. It's a dude and a wife. They got a stroller. They got a little girl. They're going to ask about the puppy. I'm going to say a bunch of wholesome shit. And as they're coming, I notice out of my peripheral, somebody walk out of this dude's garage, the one where they were just fighting. And he walks out in such a way as to beeline straight for me, like he's speed walking. And it's kind of a little bit, the sun's going down, but I can see everything in perfect, except for this. This guy is like a shadow. But I'm not at all thinking anything spooky. I'm actually mortified because it was so real that it was happening that the only logical thing I could think of as to why this dude would be speed walking towards me is to apologize for what I just overheard. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm like, he's coming to say, hey, sorry you heard me screaming at my wife. Even though I was pretty sure I watched him leave, this is clearly a man walking towards me. So he's going to, and I was so prepared to go, what? No, yelling. I didn't hear any yelling at all. No, eat your ass. I don't give a shit. And so he's walking up to me and I turn because I'm prepared to be a coward and pretend I didn't see him there and then have that interaction that way instead of like watching him. And as I'm turning, they're saying, oh, the puppy is nice. I go, oh, thank you guys. Nice to see you. Beautiful night, all the wholesome shit. And I can feel like he's standing right there. And I'm waiting for him to go, hey, sorry about, but he won't say anything. So I actually go like, fuck, man, this guy's going to make me turn around and talk to him. So, all right. And I turn around and nobody's there at all. And I go, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Because I think I just got out of this and I don't know what to make of it, but I'm not complaining. I go back inside and I explain that to my wife. She's like, what happened? I go, I was out there for a while because the neighbors were screaming at each other, telling the whole story just as I did. And her and my niece look at me and they go, so nobody was there. So you didn't like see anybody. It was a mistake. And I go, no, I mean, I definitely watched this guy walk towards me, but whatever. I don't know. He wasn't there when I turned around and thank God. And they're like, that's creepy. That's creepy as fuck. And I go, I guess it is, huh? And I swear to you, like that moment was when everything started, that strange moment. It was like this thing attached to me. Like, honestly, the way that I interpreted it was it tried me. Like it wanted to see, like you see, it came out of their house where it was causing all of that. And it tried me. And then I brought it to my house. I don't know. There's no way to prove that, but that's what I felt.
Damn. That kind of reminds me of a story that I don't think I really even covered. But I think I avoided that. Just through like straight up discernment or a stirring in my soul. Is a weird one. You know the story about my Titi Miriam, that's aunt. My aunt Miriam for the people who are not spick. It was like the first episode I did on my show by myself. I interviewed her and her story, she's a lesbian, so I don't know if that like brings any sort of iniquity or if that even pertains to the story. Living a somewhat normal life, and one day she's in her room and her roommate, another lady, she's like some sort of cousin, but not really by blood. You just know her. She's in like another room, but kind of like looking across, like you could see each other through the room, and she's on the phone with somebody, and Miriam says she like looks up. I think her name's Yolanda. She looks up and she looks at her, and she's on the phone, and she's like, "Her? You mean her?" And then she calls her over, and she's like, "Here, take the phone." And on the phone is somebody on a hotline, and the person, it's like one of those like psychic hotlines.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So she's in and they share the apartment, and she's doing the psychic hotline shit because this bitch is crazy.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And my aunt takes the phone, and apparently the psychic said, "There's a woman with you." She describes my aunt, and she goes, "She has something on her. Put her on the phone right now." And, you know, my aunt's like, "I don't know." So she takes the phone, and the lady's telling her about this thing that's on her, and she's like, "This shit is crazy. Like, I don't, whatever. Like, nothing's on me. I'm fine." That ends. I don't know the exact time frame, but like, you know, a couple months to a year, my aunt's life just goes like off the tracks.
Yeah.
Completely down the toilet. She ends up moving to Puerto Rico, ends up living with my uncle. Like, she's just like down on her luck. She's having constant visitations, constant poltergeist activity, scratches on her back, shit like you know, shadow people. She also described the Hat Man, but
Yeah.
she said he was wearing like a bolero because they're in Puerto Rico, so she's seeing this outside her window by her bedside.
What's a bowl?
A bolero is like a, you know, so like, think of the duster. A bolero is kind of like the Spanish version of that. So I guess I don't know if she's seeing that or if that's what she's describing it as, because that's what you see like the older dudes in Puerto Rico wearing. But she's like, yeah, this is what I'm seeing.
Right.
And this thing takes control of her life. It eventually ends up on my uncle, who she moves in with later on in Puerto Rico, and he describes the same thing. And he had scratches, and he had all the same shit. And I don't think they dealt with it at all. He had passed. He had passed maybe 2 years ago, a year ago. Again, just kind of like, you know, extreme weight gain.
Just a lifetime of oppression from this thing and never dealing with it.
Yeah, probably like 15, 20 years of oppression and not like just ignoring it, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But my aunt, when she's in Puerto Rico, decides to address it the completely wrong way. She goes up a mountain to see a witch doctor. There's a line that's like, you know,
Of course.
100 people long. They see her, they call her up in front of people, basically like, you know, skip the line.
You got a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you. Yeah. It's crazy. The story's crazy. She goes into the guy's house. It's dilapidated. They like the living room, the area that they walk through has a huge hole in it, so they can walk around it to this guy's office. And she's describing like a room that's like wall to wall books, and the guy's sitting at his study, and he's now talking to her, and he's telling her like, yeah, there's a thing on you, and but don't worry, we can get it out. So he does some sort of, you know, ritual. I don't know exactly what it entails, but, you know, burning of candles, shit like that. And he starts telling this thing like, you got to get off of her. You can't stay here. And she says that she hears it manifest behind her head. They're all like, you know, kind of like closed-eyed in like a prayer circle sort of thing. And she hears it, and it's saying in Spanish that she's mine. I made her fat so that way nobody else could touch her, and she's mine. Whoa. And no, you can't have her. And she even like went to they're so stupid. They named these things. So she named it Victor, and my uncle carried on that name of whatever this guy's name was. So that happens. The guy successfully exorcises this entity from her life, and then he gives her instructions to do these things when she gets home. And it's actually really funny. Like, she's got to put like you know, sage the house and shit like that. You have to do certain kind of washes. Scissors in the Lawn is the name of the episode, if anyone's wondering. Scissors in the Lawn, that's probably on the NDS.
Yeah, it is.
On our feed as well.
Mhm.
So she's putting scissors in the lawn, and my uncle's coming to cut her lawn, and he's like, "What the fuck are there scissors here?" Every week he cuts the lawn, he takes the scissors out, and she's like, "I don't know how they got here," you know, because she's not telling anybody this crazy shit. Lo and behold, it doesn't work. She's living here in Florida now, and she doesn't like to talk about it that much. Like, I'd like to have her back on the show, but like her health also is deteriorating.
How old is she?
Oh, she's got it like close to 60. They're all older now. She's but this started with her when she was my age, younger than me.
So crazy, man.
Yeah, this is a lifetime of following, you know, from the one lady. And I think, you know, like the more I think about that story, and it kind of like dawned on me, that lady, when she handed her the phone, it was like that presentation of like, will you hold that? Well, like, if I say this to you, will that? And that thing jumped on her. I guess she like, maybe there's a part of you having to believe it, or
yeah, it's a consent.
It's a consent. There's an invitation, and that psychic asked you, and then you said yeah, and then the vampire came in. and it's been with her. And, you know, she's tried a number of things. She's even tried to go to the church, but I'll be honest, like Jesus said, like this one comes out with prayer and fasting, you know? And
You don't think she's fasting?
no, she ain't fasting. I don't think you're not approaching this the right way. There are techniques to get rid of these things. There's generational iniquity. There's you know, dispositions of your heart that you have to have in your order, your life set in order before you could meaningfully tell something to leave. Like I can't tell you to leave if I'm doing the behavior.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm partaking in the destructive behavior that entity had fostered and created in me. And I'd be like, yeah, you got to go. And then I'm going to still do. No. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So to the best of my knowledge, she has not kicked that. But it reminded me, before I married my wife, she was renting the room in my aunt's house, which was my grandmother's house. And she was having a hard time paying for it. Like this is like, you know, like I said, like just a constant downslope of her life. So she's trying to keep this house, which was my uncle's and my grandmother's, and now she's inherited it, but like bills, shit like that. So my girlfriend, fiance at the time, was living in the room up there. And it was fine. And my aunt's great. She's a great person. When you talk to her, she's just like so much fun. And she's great to be around. The best person that you know. And one day, like everything's going fine, my wife calls me and she goes, "Oh, your aunt said, you know, some people are coming here from Puerto Rico. Some shit happened. This kid," and I know the kid, he was into some shit. Some people came to his house. They're looking to kill him. His friend was there. They killed his friend in the kitchen, and he wasn't home.
Dang.
So the mother saw all that and she freaked out and she's like, "We got to get out of Puerto Rico because they're gonna kill him. They're coming after him." So my aunt, she's just a great person. She's like, "Come here." And I was just like, this story doesn't add up. And I was like, "Who is it?" And she's like, "Oh, it's Yolanda." And I was like, okay. So I turned to Christina and I go, "You're leaving. Did you know that you're leaving?" And she's like, "I'm not fucking leaving. Like I've been here for 6 months. Like we're getting married. So we're saving up money and all this shit like that. And we're like ready to do that." I was like, no, you're leaving.
Yeah.
And she's like, "When?" I'm like, "Fucking today. You're leaving today." And I packed up all her shit. And my other aunt had a house that she was like renting, and she let her stay there for the time being. But I was like, you can't be here.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't know why. Ask Christina when you see her." And she's like, "I don't know why." I was like, "You just can't be here. That's it. You got to leave."
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't know that kid. I sort of know this lady. Like I know them kind of, but I don't know them.
But enough to know."
I was like, "No, it's not happening."
The only impression you had from them was that. Just no.
The impression that I had was like, I'm about to start a family with you, and these people are bringing something, not just like, I'm not worried about some fucking guy coming from Puerto Rico with a gun to kill this kid. And that's not going to happen. That's crazy. Like, and this is also in Coney Island.
This is like unwell people. You're going to get introduced to people that are unwell. I mean, were you looking at it as spiritual or like a chaos?
I couldn't tell you. But what I could tell you is that no.
Yeah.
You know? Like that day or the next day, all of her stuff was out. And my aunt was like, she's like super nice.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I know that she was kind of offended. Like she was sad about it because Christina was paying her good rent.
Sure.
These people come and were not paying her rent. And I'm also like I'm like her favorite, her favorite nephew.
Yeah, so it feels
bad.
Yeah.
But I was like, no. I was like, what you just did here, like I can't explain it, but you invited something, and you also didn't ask the person that was
that's a crazy
living here.
Yeah.
You try to do something good, like, you know.
Yeah, I get all that. And then it turns out when she tells me that story years later, I was like, oh, that's Yolanda. It's the same lady. That's the bitch that put this thing on you. And now she's coming back. And I was like, oh, but I was like, man, what a crazy movement. It's just like, again, I don't know what I'm doing day to day, but I know when something says move, it means move. And I will I move. Like whether it's be like from state to state, from house to house, or just, my daily operations. If something if I think I have a good sense of when God is talking to me, and I don't know what that sounds like, but I do know when it is.
What it feels like.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we're moving, we're leaving. This is not happening this way. We have to do a thing. and we did that. But I was like, man, if I would have let her stay there, how does the rest of my life play out? Because I'm about to make vows and marry somebody who could have picked up something crazy here.
An attachment that seems like ruined.
What do you invite into this house? What did you invite into your house years and years ago that's still with you?
That's how it all works, though. That's why that vampire lore is like that. Like, you got to invite the vampire in. These things need to be invited in, but it's not as simple as like, come in. It's like, there's even little shit.
Mhm.
Like, come in is a full-blown invitation. That's the door is open and this thing is stepping through. But every day in our lives, but the things that we engage with, we get like cracking the door open and getting a hand pop through, you know, like that kind of a thing. And more you give up. So you can either give up these consents inch by inch, or it sounds like in the case of your aunt, like all at once to this thing.
Just believing it.
Yeah.
Like she said, oh, this is a thing that's happening to you.
Yeah,
for
it sounds
sure.
like instead of a psychic, you're a fucking witch and you spoke a curse over a woman.
Yep.
And this thing was like, boop, got a new host.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what happened. So man, I could only imagine if like you go back and play that out. If I don't just go, and I'm not a kind of guy that's going to be like constantly confronting people. Although David will say like, yeah, when the time comes, I'll be like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll just be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But that's
when I say fuck you, I mean it, and that's a stopping point. Like that's going to be a no.
Yeah.
And for some reason, everything in like all my spider senses were like, no, fuck you. No. And I couldn't even verbalize why. It was just no. And the next thing you know, we're packing up the stuff.
Kids?
And my aunt, no.
Okay.
She's a lesbian, I said.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the lesbian part. Yeah, that's right. Big gay aunt.
Based.
She gay. She's the best.
No kids. Hey, at least she's, but at least not passing anything on. Generational iniquity style, I mean.
Yeah, I know. And you know what, the crazy part is like she's such a good, like has a good heart too.
Yo, but it's always like people that crush that often get these things. You know, people talk about sometimes the spiritual realm knows what you're going to be about before you're ever about it. And so some people have a bigger target on their backs than others.
Yeah, it's like the youngest child kind of thing. This she has this what makes her great is this high agreeability trait, which comes when you're female anyway. But like when you're also a nice person and you're always just like, yeah, like, what do you mean? Like we would be at her house,
me, like, you're the best,
and like 15 of my friends, guys, girls, or whatever, and she's like, come over and play hide and seek in the middle of the night. Yes. And I'm like, you're a grown woman. This is a stupid idea.
Yeah, never me. I'd be like, absolutely. I wouldn't even pick up the phone.
Out of your mind?
I wouldn't pick up the phone.
But we were doing that kind of shit, and she was like, it was fun.
Yeah.
But she's always like, yes, let's do that. Yes. So like that creates a person.
You can see how that's a problem, right? Consent-wise.
Yeah, consent-wise.
Absolutely.
But you see how that could make such a great person.
Sure,
like, she's just so nice. Like she'll give you the shirt off her back, but she'll also take the demon off your back.
Yeah, she'll take the cursed shirt and she'll put that on too.
And won't say no. Like there's like a big power in saying no.
Yeah.
I spoke with her about that, like just with her relationship with her siblings, because they're all older than her, and I see them, I'm like, they're taking advantage of you, know that, right? And I'm like 16 at the time, and she was like, oh, and I was like, just fucking tell him, like to my mom, I'm like, tell her to go fuck herself.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no. I was like, sometimes you should. And I was like, maybe I'm an asshole, but like as I learn life, I'm like, no, that's a very good, like, yeah. COVID was a good time to tell people to fuck off.
Yeah.
And to practice
Absolutely.
that. I'm very good at that now.
It's still time to practice.
Still time to practice.
All right. We're still here.
It's actually fun to do for the listeners. Go do it.
Go practice. Call somebody a faggot.
I think COVID kind of blossomed me into like speaking my mind a little bit more too. So like I never got vaccinated. My kids never got vaccinated, and people were like, "You really need to get your kids vaccinated." I was like, "No, thank you." And then my ex-wife got vaccinated, and then I was like, "Listen," I sat my kids down. I was like, "Do not let your mother talk you in to getting a shot." I was like, "Don't go when you go to the doctors and they ask, make sure you say no. Don't let people do it at school," because I was hearing all this fucking wild shit that they were doing it at school with the school nurses and all that shit. But yeah, so I started getting a little bit louder with my nose too after that. And I think I was really like introvert and a lot, and like I didn't care to like have conversations all that much, and then once I started this podcast, I was like, and a lot of people were like, are you gonna be all right talking to people? Are you sure this is something you want to do? And I was like, I like the subject matter, so I think I can do it. And then it's become like I've come out of my shell. I've written a book and this and that, and it's so much easier now to talk to people and to speak my mind and give my opinions on shit. And I think that it really started with the spiritual growth of, finding, God and creating a relationship with him and just starting that journey, and the doors just continue to open. And the attachments, whatever they seem to be gone now. And I just had a little girl 2 years ago, and I don't know, man, things just seem to be looking up. I think it's so interesting how when you start living more positively in your life, the things that change in it, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I was going down a pretty rough path as you were when you were younger. I was into drugs. I was trying to impress people that probably didn't need any impressing, and none of them are friends with me now.
Yeah.
They would talk to this, we're family, we're family, we're family. I don't have any relationship with them now. And my life is way better off without them in it. So as soon as my son was mentioned, it was like a switch flipped in my brain, and it was almost like a divine intervention kind of thing. Was like, dude, you need to do something about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I haven't been arrested since the year that he was conceived. So
There you go. You say he's 17 now?
yeah, he's 17 now.
That's a good spree, man. Yeah, I think that some of us, and it sounds like this is probably your case too, because I think what it happens when you're really young, there's the potentiality of like trauma. So like I've experienced some stuff that I think probably gave these things access. But I also think that even outside of that trauma, the trauma is likely to happen if you are subjected to generational iniquity.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does your son
sure.
have any experiences?
He's had one that he thinks of. He's not really sure. But he thinks that he's had it. But for the most part, nothing really. But generational trauma, definitely a big thing. My mom wasn't healed emotionally, and she put a lot of that into us, as me and my siblings. And I actually tried to commit suicide when I was 9, and my experiences right after that, just like boom, like it was blossom. Like it was just like every other day I was seeing something weird, experiencing something strange, experiencing something off. um and then I tried again when I was 13, and then things got crazy. I started getting like angry about everything, and then that's when the experiences stopped. But my life was going down the toilet. You know what I mean? And I think that's what, like, when you're not doing good, they're not gonna bother you. But when you
Yeah.
start improving, they're like, we need to put him back where he was, So
Yeah, that's exactly my experience. It's like they don't have to intervene or show themselves or do anything if you're gonna tank your own life, right? Like if you're
Mhm.
fucking everything up and you're spreading, all of this negativity and everything, like that's what they want. So it's as soon as you start to get off that, um, that things start going wrong. Do you ever look at like your mom or maybe your grandmother or anybody? Is there any, like for me, my grandmother was like a practicing clairvoyant sort of new age character. Do you have any of that in your family?
No, not that I know of. I'm part native, and I know like there's a lot of spiritually gifted people that come from that lineage. But as far as I've looked, there hasn't been anything. I will say that my best friend, the guy that I got the podcast idea from, I really wish he was still doing his podcast. He stopped a long time ago. Um, but he's also part native, and it was I was probably 12 or just turned 13, and he put his hand. We were just. It was my first time ever meeting his uncle, who was native and really involved in the tribe, and he was a seer of whatever. And I come out of his bathroom in his apartment, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "Don't do it." And I looked at him, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm not really sure, but I know that when the situation arises, that you should just don't do it." And I was like, "Okay." And so later on, that same year, probably actually a month later, I stole my dad's car and got arrested. And then later on that year, it was my second attempt on myself. So either one or both situations,
Probably just good
possibly.
advice in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, so with my family, no. But there has been people throughout my life that have shown up randomly and have said weird shit to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different contributing factors, but it's always fascinating to me this divide of people that, and I have the pleasure now of talking to people from the camp who have experienced shit throughout their entire life, and then there's
Mhm.
other people that just seem to be moving through life, never having any, So when you have the luxury of scrunching up your face when somebody says the supernatural or the paranormal, what are you talking about? What? That's a
Mhm.
luxury, right? Because for other people, like you, it's like, yeah, this is not a theory, it's reality. This is a real thing that has had real implications on my life. And I get to talk to those people now because whether it's a guest or another podcaster, so many of us are spurred into this arena that we're in now where we're making content about this because we had something that was unexplainable. That's usually it, man. It's like something happened at some point. There's one thing, maybe it was a bunch of stuff, bunch of little things, one big one, whatever, doesn't matter, that I never got a satisfactory answer for. Nobody ever convinced me that it was just a random thing that happened or that I was seeing shit or that it wasn't real. Um, and you have these experiences. I'm sure you've had this happen before where like you go to try to talk to somebody about it because you want to talk about these things to some extent. On one hand you don't because of the way that it's received, but on the other hand it's like this fascinating thing that you want to discuss, and like far and few in between that you get anybody that can have that conversation with you. You bring to the table like this thing that happened to me, and you could lay it all out for somebody and they'll be like, that's crazy, man. You're like, fuck, that's not enough. That's crazy, man, is not enough. Like, I have to do something with this. And so, I just find it weird how some people, I don't know, is it squeaky clean lineage where they never did anything crazy? Your grandparents never engaged in this and that, or, you never experienced the trauma in childhood that like opens up that door, or you've never given a sequence of consents away to something in the spiritual realm for it to attach onto you. I don't know what it is, man. Even here, that's all right. Bye. Even here, I don't, this almost like went over your head. We had Mason come in the other day and she opens the door. It's after hours. The shop is closed and she's going to ask us, she walks in front of your camera and you go, it's fine. Just walk in front of my camera. And all of a sudden, both her and I hear ding. And it's
really?
the fucking bell. at the counter.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Well,
Nobody's there. Nobody's there. And she looks behind her and then gets into the kitchen and looks up to the front counter and nobody's there. And I go, did the bell just go off? And she goes, yeah, the bell just went off. Like, you know how a fucking bell works, dog. You got to ding that shit. How does that go off? How does that happen?
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that happened.
So, like, I don't know. For some people, it's like maybe some shit happens and you just don't even, maybe you just forget.
I was here by myself yesterday. I was like, it's a little spooky. I'm
It
just
is a
gonna
little
turn the lights
creepy.
off and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, yeah. When I was doing night shows, I was like, this is fucking spooky, man. I don't want to be here.
I don't like this coffee shop.
But yeah,
Dude.
it's like a separation in society. So the experiencers versus the non-experiencers, and I don't fucking understand the non-experiencers.
Me neither. There's been so many people where I'd be like, you ever seen a ghost? And they're like, no. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, why? Have you? I was like, 100 times. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, well, but like talking about like your bell in the shop there, freaking, have you ever talked to somebody about something paranormal, whether it's like whether you had a guest on in the shop or like through virtual like this, and then all of a sudden all of your tech stuff starts like
All the time.
shitting
Yeah.
the bed?
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause
What
I've
was the
had that
latest?
happen so many times. And when I was first starting, there was this guy. He's become a really good friend now, but his name's Ron. And I had him on. I can't remember is episode 8 or 9 or something like that. And I posted the episode, and people started saying they're hearing voices. And
Yeah.
so I go on and I start listening, and I was like, there's some back feed of my voice through his mic, but at the same time, it's not there's certain spots that the voice is not lining up with my voice, and it's completely different words. And it was
Yeah,
so
we
crazy.
had
My
one-
sister dissected it, and she came up with a whole bunch of stuff, like where I called it's a sanatorium was what he was talking about, and I called it an insane asylum, and apparently it upset them, whatever voice was there, and it was wild.
So, oh wow, I didn't think that would just pop on the screen like that.
Oh well. Can we show this clip real
well,
quick? This is.
I guess we can-
Yeah, Heidi Love. I love Heidi.
Heidi's awesome. Yeah, we were talking to
Yeah,
her.
she is.
This is weird.
Yeah. So go ahead and listen to this.
That's a
In
very
this state.
what you've kind of done, Heidi, is you've pointed and you've identified an enemy.
Right.
So
Yo, that fucked me up. That gave me the chills. I didn't like that one.
one more time. That was crazy.
Against it. Now that's a very
this state.
what you've kind of done, Heidi, is you've pointed and you've identified an enemy.
Right.
Bro,
So,
I forgot how crazy that sounded.
That's like a deep, exasperated sigh. That's not the first time that's happened to us.
It wasn't even just a sigh. It sounds like it whispers something at the end of the sigh. Like
It
it sounded
kinda
like some spooky ass I don't know, fucking movie where they're casting a spell.
We were talking to another guy. Man, I forget his name. And it was that one was like more clear demonic interference. It was like it sounded like garbled voices and like crackling of it, like a Tesla coil or some shit like that. But this one was weird. It was just a sigh of a woman. And I don't know.
Isn't that strange though? It's the sigh of like it was a woman's voice.
Yeah. But it
does
happens all
kind
the
of
time.
sound like. Oh, okay. I wish. I mean, I don't wish it happened all the time, but it it gets me excited, but at the same time, like it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's like it's evidence, but at the same time, it's like it's fucking with me.
I
too.
get it, man. I get the excited thing. Like
It's exhilarating.
it is, yeah, dude.
That
it
whole
is.
week,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, that whole week was technical difficulties.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like we go
And
through
then
these
everything
periods
that
and
she's
like,
going through right now, too.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think I understand it. You know, a lot of Christians will kind of like get, you know, they're like, oh, don't look at that, don't look at that. But my thing is the people who experience it often end up being some of the best tools for the will of God, right? Like, in other words, if you've experienced it, like for me, I like to think that I'm a good tool. I could be a good servant because I can speak to people who are like me who have, I don't know if you've experienced this, Kev, but it's like when you go through these things and they drive you to all sorts of like conspiracy and looking into like the phenomenon, there is a little part of you that looks at Christians like, these motherfuckers, like,
They don't know shit.
they don't know shit. Like they don't have, they're just happy people going through, they don't really have a depth of knowledge on any particular thing. They don't know conspiracies. They don't know the supernatural. And they're just going to church on Sundays. And what I eventually found is like, oh no, the Bible nails this stuff. It nails it. But that doesn't mean that the average Christian knows it. But what that done,
Well, you were just reading the NLT, right? And it's like,
dude, it's crazy how much the NLT, and it's like I enjoy it because the language is much more understandable than the King James version. But through all the episodes and conversations and research that we've done, I understand the NLT is like fundamentally missing a lot. It hides the enemy from you. It's crazy. Like the NLT, reading it is not going to necessarily screw up your relationship with the Lord. And it will still preach the gospel to you, you know, as the gospel is meant, and salvation by grace through faith and, you know, the coming of Christ and what he did for us and all these things, overcoming death, like all of that is still going to be there. But understanding the nature of the enemy is like, it's like stripped out of it because of the translations and shit. It's kind of wild. So, but what I get to do now is like, yeah, dude, I spent my whole life having these experiences and looking into all this occult shit. All of this for me was spurred on when I was a kid because of my own experiences. I would talk about them, and eventually one of my aunts overheard, you know, saw some of my interest in it, and then expressed to me like, hey, this thing happened to your grandma, this thing happened here and there, yada yada, this thing happened to your aunt. And that became fascinating to me. It became like the mystery of my family. And it caused me to look into all of this shit, alien abductions and sleep paralysis and the Hat Man. And it led through my youth into my adulthood, into the thing that I do now for a living. That's how I got here. So I get to now turn around and talk to people who have had experiences like us and who have, you know, have an affinity for the occult or have an affinity for conspiracy theory. And I get to say like, hey, dog, I know all the shit that you know. And sometimes I know it better. Sometimes I don't know it as good, but I can speak the same language, right? That's kind of what it is. It's a language. And it's like, I know enough that I can have this conversation in that language very well with those people. And I can be like, by the way, it all leads to Jesus Christ. And I know that sounds crazy because I know people think that the Bible is cringy and Christianity is cringy. And that's on purpose. That's on purpose. That's been done on purpose. In the West, we've made a surface layer over Christianity that is super gay and super cringy. But if you can just hang in there and don't worry about the people, don't worry about the institutions, worry about God, worry about the truth, and like actually look at what this thing is saying, it talks about it all. It talks about it all, and it makes perfect sense. And also, if you need a little convincing, look up the never-ending amount of testimonies of people getting alien abducted and calling on Christ, and it stops. People, and people will hear that and they'll go, oh no, well that's just, you know, it's just a thing, like that's just it's intent. And it's like, no, dude, I've been through all that shit. I'm not like some lifelong Christian. I was not a Christian. I was not religious. I was a conspiracy theorist who believed in the supernatural and who saw the occult. I could see it in everything. It was there very obviously. And I didn't come to Christianity till 30 something years old. And I'm telling you, everything that I understood before makes perfect sense through the Christian lens. But don't let Christians or the church or anything fool. There's nothing wrong with them. But I'm saying don't look at them as they're the truth. That's just man. Those are just dudes. Those are just people. That's just a building. And you can go there and you can worship and you can develop a relationship with God. But like, don't look at that and then think somehow that means that the Bible's not real and that Jesus isn't real. Like, no. It's super real, dude. It is very real. That's it. That's all I got.
I think nature is the best place for worship. I mean, to sit instead of sitting in a pew listening to a preacher, you can be out just in a trail or sit in some grass, being barefoot or whatever, connected to what the creator has created. And this is my opinion. And I think there's more of a zen and a connection when you're out there, because you're visualizing everything that he has created as well. And you could still sit there with a Bible and read it too, and do the thing. You don't have to listen to. I mean, I'm sure a sense of community and stuff within the church is all fun and cool too. But I do think that there's a section of Christians, or really any religion, that they'll go to their church on Sunday or mosque or whatever, and they're listening to somebody tell them the word rather than reading it. And I feel like there's a good portion of people that haven't read it, and they're just listening to their preacher.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's what I've learned is there's a more than a few ways to get it. And if you enter that building, let's say, and you are earnestly seeking a relationship with God, God knows that, and things will happen. Like when I started going to my church, I took a break for a while because I started to have like a distaste for the way, just like the regular church shit. Like it just felt corny. Is really like a way to summarize it. But there would be times, and I mean, I was, I could ask my wife about these times where like we were talking about something, her and I, like something was just on my heart or on her heart, and we're walking, we'll go for walks together and we'll talk about it. And then like we'll go to church that week or the next day, and the sermon is directly about it. And like sometimes scripture can be applied like a general blanket in a way that it can fit a lot of different things. These times were so insanely pointed that even my wife would come away, like we wouldn't be talking during it, we'd just be listening. And afterwards she'd be like, I felt like he was talking directly to you. And I'd be like, I know, how crazy was that? So like, if you're seeking God, you're earnestly seeking God, he'll use those buildings, he'll use that congregation, he'll use what. And I think there is something about energy and worship when people are all together in one building, all thinking about God, and this thing is happening on stage where everything is about God. Even if it's a little bit corny, it's still like, well, everything that happens in there, God is on the forefront of everybody's mind that's in there. So like, I do think something special is happening in that building. But I also agree, like, yeah, if you're in nature,
it's not just the building. I mean, you could be in this room right here. We do a show called Straight Bible every Tuesday, and the owner of the shop, Matt, boss, he's the guy that does the episode. I just produce it, and I help like pull up and read the scripture sometimes, just to, like I'm a co-host. So I mean, it's been multiple times, but just the last couple of times I could remember, I'm having a beef with the entire Orthodox Church. Go figure. And we're doing a series on Sermon on the Mount. And it just so happens we're in chapter 5, verse 24 or whatever it is, and we're talking about the traditions of man. And then we're pulling up scripture to cross-reference that. But Matt has already wrote out this script or sermon.
Yeah.
He wrote this out months ago, and we're just getting around to reading it now. But like that week, I'm arguing with, higher ups in the Orthodox and probably Catholic Church about their tradition specifically. I'm like, this is very interesting. And like just this last week that passed, we had a conversation with our boy Ed Mabry, Dr. Mabry right there behind me. And we were talking about the nature of God. And, that's always a question. And does God know things before they happen and things like this? Was the kind of back and forth that we had with him. And we weren't sure exactly where we came apart. But like, again, part of the Sermon on the Mount series, I think it's like chapter 6, verse 5 or whatever it was. We're talking about the knowledge of God, and we're cross-referencing scripture according to like, we're going from like Numbers to Genesis, and then we're going to First Timothy and just all these different scriptures, and we're talking about God knowing things beforehand and what he does. And I'm like, it's fascinating every single time. I'm like, yeah, this is the question, and here's the answer.
That's why people say like the Bible or like scripture is alive in some ways. Like it seems to be an interactive text.
Yeah.
like it
Yes.
communicates
There's a
with
call
you.
and response. And what I was
Yeah.
telling with Matt, the very interesting thing, some of the best, like I'm a guitar player, so the best guitar riffs or guitar lines are all call and response. Like you have a lead melody and maybe that's the first bar of this solo or the chorus that you're going to present as this solo on guitar. So the first is the melody, the second thing is the response. So you have your call, your response, and then they do the call again, and then the response is going to vary. But it's like you have to call, and then you have to give that response, and then people are listening and they're interested, and you keep doing that. I mean, again, anybody playing any kind of instrument, it's that simple. A melody,
Slapping the bass.
that slap at a bass, a melody, and then a respond to that melody, and that's exactly what that. I mean, that's what God is telling you to do constantly.
Right.
It's like He's there, call out, and then He responds. You call, He responds, and it's fascinating how it works out almost every single time in that way.
It is fascinating. It's I would say like for me I had not only my son in my ear, but I also had so many lovely guests um saying that they see this and that, and I've always been somebody that has had struggled with compliments, and so like somebody gives me a compliment, I'm like yeah, whatever. um, and listening to my son talk about scripture and stuff like that. Shit, I forget where I was going with this.
We were
Oh
saying
yeah,
it feels like scripture's alive and it calls back.
yeah. So when what happened recently with Charlie Kirk, I
Right.
didn't really know anything about him really. I just, I saw a couple of his videos here and there or whatever. But as soon like I heard it on a podcast that it had happened like live, and I was like, I drive for a living, so I pull over and I was like, no way. And I open my phone, first thing I see is it literally happening.
Yeah.
And like something in me like vibrated, and all of a sudden like it became more real, and I was like, my soul was just like, we need to pray. Like for
Hmm.
some reason I just felt like I needed to pray right then and there, and I've never prayed before. So like and then a week later I bought my first Bible as an adult. I had a Bible when I was a kid, like this little like kid Bible kind of thing, and we decided that we were gonna like just like open it and kind of like pick out a verse, because I heard this thing that I can't remember who said it to me, but you just open up the Bible and you could put your finger on a random verse, and it's going to resonate with you with a current situation. And that's what we start. Well, we haven't been doing that lately, but we did start doing that. And you can read the same verse at different moments in your life, and
Yeah.
it seems to like have a different meaning for whatever situation that you're going through. So I
Yeah,
just
it's my understanding. I've not made it through the entire thing because I can't read because
no,
I'm
me
retarded.
neither.
So a lot of mine is
Same.
like communication. Like I've picked it up and started reading through it again. I don't know what the umpteenth time this is, but it's my understanding that you can read through the entire thing and then go through it on a second playthrough and figure out all or pull out all sorts of things that you didn't catch the first time around, and so on and so forth, to the extent that Matt is still he's been reading it for how long now, and he's still pulling out things. And Ed Mabry says the same thing. He's been reading it for his entire life and still pulls out things that he didn't catch before. And I do think, like, yeah, there's a situational application that changes the meanings in one way or another. That can be the case too. But I
It's
think
also just like being aware. Like we were just reading Acts 5, and that's when Saul or Paul, yeah, it's Saul at the time he's called, and Saul was he's a murderer of Christians, and he's on the road to Damascus, and he's cold and he's blinded. But it's like that's a great story. He hears Jesus, and then he's blinded, and then then he has to be healed, and then he comes out on the other side better. But the story, when you read it again and you actually like, you don't even have to dissect it, just read it and go, oh shit, like I didn't catch that part. He's on the road and other men hear the call as well. Well, some do, some don't. And he hears it and he immediately goes, what do you want, Lord? Like, yeah, I'm here. What do you want? Who are you? And it's Jesus. And he's like, yo, dude, you're killing all the Christians. But the interesting part is that he recognizes his voice. He doesn't know who he is because he's actively killing people that follow him. Because he thinks that that's the right thing. But again, just like an interesting study of like, you can be in the wrong spot. You could be even doing the wrong things up to the point of murdering people that follow Jesus.
Right.
But you can still know his voice. What the hell does that mean?
Right.
It's like a question that we have to like really question. We have to ask ourselves, like, number one, do I know his voice? This guy is so in tune with God that he did recognize him and he stops on a dime, but he's doing the wrong thing entirely until he's turned around, and he has to be turned around in a harsh way. Like he loses his eyesight for 3 days, and it's kind of brutal for him. But yeah, it's like little things like that. As you go back and read the Bible, it's not just a story. There's like, okay, there's a little bit more there.
Yeah, that's what I've been learning to do.
Am I listening but not obeying? Like,
Right.
is this the lesson here that I need to take from that? Like, I heard you, but then how about my actions, you know? And as you read it, you have to like constantly reflect, like, well, okay, what happened here?
That's the other thing too, is you have to look at it like, I think a lot of us look at it as like tradition, and some people are comfortable looking at more as like allegory. But if you read it like these are real people and real events that happen, and then make an attempt to humanize them. That's one of the things that our buddy Ed Mabry does really well. He was talking about the story of Cain and Abel, and it's very short in Genesis, the story of Cain and Abel. Like, it's super short. It just basically says that Eve had 2 sons, and one was given, to herd the sheep, and the other one was given to work the land. And, Abel gave his sacrifices, his offerings to the Lord, and the Lord was pleased. And when Cain gave it, he was not pleased, and this upset Cain. And then God's like, why are you upset? You shouldn't be upset.
No, so it's actually the other way around, because Cain is the one that does the sacrifices. He's in charge of the animals, and God wanted the animal sacrifice. And when he gave it, God's not happy with it. Then Abel gives it. Abel gives the sacrifice, and God's pleased.
Well, that's interesting. Well, I have the NLT.
Well, so I might have said it backwards.
It literally says Cain is given to plow the lands, and Abel is given to herd the sheep. And then Abel gives his offering to the Lord, and the Lord.
Yeah, you're right. But the point is that one gives the offering first, and then it's rejected, and then the second gives the offering, and then he says that one's good.
Yeah.
But Ed was making the point that Cain was the offering guy. He's the guy that gives the offering, and God only knows how long they've been doing it. And they've been doing this offering in order to get back into Eden. That's the promise since they were kicked out. They were promised the Messiah. So this is like, again, a shade of Jesus Christ to come. So you can imagine his mother telling him, well, you're the oldest. You're the guy that's going to give the sacrifice. You're the special boy. So God's going to accept this, and you're going to get us back into here. Just keep doing your thing. And he gives a sacrifice, and one day God's like, no, that's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good because you're doing a vain repetition. You're doing this tradition of man. It's like a shadowing of the church, of the formalities of the church, these cold, dead formalities that you see. And this is like what we connotate with religion, why people, when they look at it, they go, I'm not doing that shit. That looks retarded. These guys are just passing around a basket and saying the same words
over and over again.
Yeah, and that's this is what Cain is doing at that point. So again, it's very short scripture, but when you look into and you look at the history and you start to extrapolate on what these things say and read the Hebrew and the translations of what was actually said, you can understand this story a little bit better, rather than he was just jealous of his brother.
Yeah.
So he killed him. It's like, there's a lot more than that.
This is what Ed does. He's like, imagine this. It's Adam and Eve in the garden. The serpent deceives Eve. The serpent's cursed. Adam and Eve are cursed. And God says that the seed of the woman, so the offspring of Eve, is going to crush the head of the offspring of this serpent. So there's a prophecy, right? It's like, okay, this is bad now. We've been casted out. We've been cursed, but we're going to win.
Yeah.
It's all good because we're going to win. There's no mention of like
be 8,000 years later.
Yeah, when this like Jesus Christ is the descendant of Eve.
Yeah.
But they're thinking Cain and Abel, the first generation of sons they have. Surely one of these two dudes is going to make this right and fill the prophecy.
And it's got to be the dude that's the one that's giving the sacrifices to God, right?
So when that shit doesn't work, like, yeah, that explains why he loses his fucking marbles.
Yeah, and
like
God,
he lost his mind
God's
and killed
telling
his
him
brother.
too. He's like, I see what you're about to do. You should calm down.
Chill out, bitch.
Yeah, I know where you're gonna like. Just rethink that, and he's like, no, and he goes and he puts his brother in the field and he kills him
because mom's been raising him for all these years, saying you're the one that's going to fulfill the prophecy, that's going to get us back into the Garden of Eden.
Was promised to you 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you throw that down the line to what Jews are doing today, and you're like, it's all the same. It's the same shit, but we're doing it too, right? We all have that special boy thing.
But
in
it's
us
great,
too, so
man, to take those dudes and make them humans instead of just fucking stories in a book. Like, to look at this and be like, okay, yeah. So she's promising, like,
or like, so my understanding was always, so he sacrificed this and it wasn't good, and the other guy sacrificed that and that was good. It was like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, so God valued one over the other, and it's not that.
But then you look at that and you go, that's fucking stupid. And then you go, the whole thing's stupid. Like, there's so many instances of that. And I think that's really like, we're talking about the NLT, right? The New Living Translation, which is like crazy to even use the word living. Like, you look at that translation and it's so many of the words have been translated to these really Hebrew and Greek words have like a shit ton of different meanings for one word. And they all apply. They're super dynamic. And then like modern English words are like paper thin in comparison to it. So it looks dumb and reduced and reductive and almost nonsensical.
Look up the definition of the word repented in the Old Testament in Hebrew. It means like to be comforted. It means to be sorry. It means to make amends for. It means like 15 things. And it's like, well, God repented. I said, so what does that mean? You look it up, it's like could mean anything at this point.
Yeah.
Like, how do we apply this? Well, we have to go contextually, situation by situation, what happened. But like that idea of Cain and Abel in the garden there, and the offering is, again, it's like shadowed again. Like, you can go to the New Testament where Jesus is telling the parable of the old lady that gives her penny or whatever it's called versus the guys that are giving 100 times the amount, and he's like, but look at this lady, she gave everything that she had, and that's the offering that is acceptable to God. So then you go back to the Cain and Abel story, you're like, yeah, Cain is going through the motions. He's going through the motions. This no longer means anything. It's rejected by God. And, the story goes on from there. But we do that all the time, too.
And it's crazy because I'm looking at it here. Like, the story of Cain and Abel is, you see, Genesis 4:1 to Genesis, 4:17. That's it. And then by the time you get to 4:17, which is not a lot of words, it's very, very short. They're on to like, and Cain had a wife and she conceived Enoch and they built a city and they're already moving on. Cain's already been cast out. He's already had a city. He's in Nod and he's got a wife and he's having a kid. The whole thing is like such a short, which is also something I didn't know from the outside looking in before I was ever Christian. These stories. Everybody knows Cain and Abel. Everybody knows the garden. Fucking these things are so briefly mentioned, but I think Greek and Hebrew were such like fucking unbelievable languages. So like they had numerical values attributed to them. Their alphabet was synonymous with their numbers, and every word had such a vast and complicated meaning, or not complicated but complex meaning, that like, yeah, in that short amount of time from Genesis 4:1 to 4:16, a lot of information is conveyed, but it does not look like it. It does not look like it because of the way that we read and because of the way that our language is. It looks like there's nothing there, but there's so much there.
These guys are 20. Like, I think they were like 80. There's some shit going on here.
Man.
It's just, it's fascinating. It's fun to look at, and it's always something new.
But we have managed to water it down and make it very gay.
Very gay.
That's what we like to do around here.
Yeah.
Water everything down and make it fucking gay.
It's Pride Month,
dog. We told you at the beginning.
Come on now.
Exactly. So I heard one of the ways that some people like to make the Bible a thing of tomfoolery is that they use the word unicorn in it. Um, and I haven't found it yet, but apparently there's a
Yeah, it's in
mention
there.
of a unicorn in the Bible, and in the 80s in the encyclopedia, unicorn not only did mean the mythical creature, but it also meant rhinoceros, which makes sense for the area that the Bible takes place in, for a rhino to be present in one of the stories.
Dude, I'll tell you what,
You
the
know what I mean?
unicorn thing is actually really weird too, because we ended up doing an episode where through the extra canonical texts, somehow or another, it's derived that the Nephilim rode unicorns or some shit like that into battle.
Well, you'll see that on the seals of some of these ancient families as well.
Yeah.
The unicorn.
And the unicorn is synonymous with the Antichrist or the beast.
And it's in children memorabilia everywhere.
The reason that it even became fascinating to me is because there was this time where all of a sudden, while they're pushing all the LGBTQ shit, they're pushing like unicorns and rainbows right alongside it. And I'm like, that's really fascinating. Like, why has the unicorn become, in some ways, the unspoken gay mascot for children? And then something else happened shortly after that, where it was the axolotl. And if anybody has little kids out there, you'll notice that there's a big axolotl push, and that's because of transhumanism. Axolotls have the ability to regenerate entire limbs and organs and shit like that, and so they're using them right now feverishly in all this research to determine how to activate the dormant gene in human beings that can result in regenerating limbs and organs, just like the axolotl does. And then as they're doing that, all of a sudden they're pushing in the toy industry and in all these other things for babies. Everything's axolotl. So like there's these weird little things they slip in there. The unicorn was one of them. And then I brought it up on a show one day, and our guest, might have been Ed Mabry, was like, actually, yeah, there's something there. It's interesting you should say that because it's a symbol associated with the Antichrist. And I'm like, fucking A, man. Of course it is. So like, yeah, we get to scoff at unicorns makes a lot of sense.
Well, it seems like so I'm looking at it here, but in numbers it's mentioned in connotation with Egypt a bunch of times. And if you want to go like get real crazy about some of this transhumanist mixing stuff,
oh yeah,
Egypt was doing this, like
Nephilim shit.
Yeah, Nephilim shit, specifically around the time of Moses. So Numbers 23:22 there is where it talks about the strength of a unicorn and God brought them out of Egypt. It might have been something that was like a what would you call that? Like some sort of a hybrid animal, maybe something created. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
around
so.
this time period in Egypt, they were very comfortable and familiar with shit being weird. Like, we're talking about the plagues, right? Like they're like, yeah, your firstborn son's dead. Yeah, there's locusts. Yeah, the water turned like blood red, and people were still like, yeah, cool, whatever. There had to be 12 of these. Moses throws down a rod, and then his guys throw down a rod. They both turn into snakes, but one eats the other, and they're like, oh shit, his snake. Like that was normal. That's normal in Egypt at the time. So yeah, there's things going on that it's more fascinating than we understand.
And that's when people scoff at that too. It's like, okay, so you've never had a cryptid experience, or you've never heard somebody who encountered, an upright man dog, some sort of werewolf creature. Or you've never encountered, like, once you hear enough of that shit, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with a fucking unicorn.
I just seen a fucking German Shepherd Chihuahua. Okay.
Right.
What are we talking? Yeah, it was a Chihuahua that looks like a German Shepherd.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
How does that happen? It's just like, this is nothing new under the sun.
An abomination to God, though.
Yeah, but everyone's like, that's cute, that's cool. It's like, I don't know. There's shit out there like ligers. I mean, they're making lizard people in a lab somewhere.
This fucking Matt Gaetz comes out and says there's an entire hybridization program taking place in these deep underground military bases, and now all of a sudden it's all that Congressman Anna Paulina Luna wants to talk about, or what's the other, Lauren Boebert. They're literally about to do a big fake and gay alien disclosure to scoff at the idea of unicorns. Have you ever seen a narwhal, Doug?
Yeah,
it's a whale unicorn. I don't have any problems with unicorn. It doesn't even remotely move the meter on my radar. I don't care at all about that.
I actually find it kind of cool. I think they're cooler from what they're described in the Bible. They're probably cooler than the gay shit that we see.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all been like, I don't think they had rainbow manes and like hearts on their ass cheeks or anything like that.
Yeah.
In fact, if they did exist, that means a couple of dudes throughout history were gored to death by one.
Sick.
For sure. Definitely,
cool.
most likely.
Yes.
All right, new podcast name, Death by Unicorn.
Death by Unicorn is actually a banger. I hereby
A movie, actually.
Is it really?
Yes.
I want to start a petition for making unicorns hardcore again.
It's a horror movie with Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega.
Really?
Oh shit! Yeah, look at that.
That's so funny.
I think they nailed it. Look, they nailed the unicorn. Probably what it was. I see it's like a ferocious looking beast.
Somebody getting gored by it.
Yes.
Sometimes these movies,
literally, talking about like consent and stuff like that, things that they're pushing.
They always
in the
do.
movie. They're using the blood of the unicorn to make the heir of this mansion younger.
There you go.
And so we have this idea of the chrome.
The crone, yeah.
They do tell you. They have to tell you somehow. And
I don't know if they have to tell you, or
but
if it's
they really like telling you.
They like telling you, and also the most interesting stories are those things because they're like truths about reality that have been stripped away from our understanding. So when they're reintroduced through fiction, they resonate on some genetic level. Like we look at that as humans and we go like, I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that. And it's because you enjoyed the truth. And that was part of reality at some point.
Yeah, all the superhero movies. Oh, you enjoy movies about men of renown?
Heroes of old? Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what's going on here.
Check out Genesis 6, dummy.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, we'll be watching a movie, and I'll be sitting there, and I'll be like, "I don't consent," and then my girlfriend's like, "What are you talking about?"
That's the other thing too. I've gotten to this point now where it is rough to watch a movie with me.
Yeah, I don't consent to any of it, but I enjoy the slop.
Yeah, I enjoy looking for all the hidden subliminal messages and the symbols and all this crap in the background.
Oh, no, I don't look for it.
I do.
I let it like you ever see the meme of the girl with the hot dog?
Oh yeah. That's
me.
The goy slop
Watching the movies
as it bounces off your face.
And I go, give me more of that. That was cool.
Delicious goy slop.
Oh man. All right, guys. So I've taken up a bunch of your time today, but if you guys don't mind, I do have a really important question that I like to ask at the end of every episode, and that is, are you guys finding fulfillment in doing what you do?
This is like the Temu version of our show. How dare you?
That's very interesting. We have a question. We don't always ask it.
Kevin, you bitch.
Kevin, you've been watching? We don't always ask it, but we like to ask people if they're having fun.
Yeah, and he did that, but he did it in like a
more meaningful way.
No, he did it in a way that's not copyright infringement.
Oh, touche. Yeah.
Right?
So, fulfillment. Yeah, dude.
It's he added the itty bitty ting, to like the vanilla ice shit.
Oh, yeah.
And the Milli Vanilli.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a real thing. They avoided copyright by adding a ding, 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 ding.
Really?
Yeah, dog. That's all it takes.
I thought that was the whole I thought that was...
Well, that's the argument. This is what Kevin just did to us.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, fulfillment. Yes. Yeah, I definitely am. I mean... I did
not talking about hot dogs. He's talking about like
no, not hot
shows.
Dogs. Okay, I did a show for I've been podcasting for my Facebook memories just came up the other day, and it reminded me of a show I had 9 years ago. So I've been doing this for a long time, and those shows were not fulfilling. I knew that I had to do something. I was always called to do this, but I did a bunch of shitty versions of it, and I wasn't talking about the truth, and I wasn't talking about conspiracies and any of that stuff. I didn't know what to talk about. In fact, I had a show for a number of years called Where I Belong, which is like literally me trying to figure out, like, what am I doing? Where do I belong in this? How do I? And for all those years I did that. This has been going on for almost 3 years. And it's certainly the greatest job that I've ever had. But it is fulfilling because I do believe that God gave me a gift. And I've used it incorrectly a lot. And it's the gift of, I don't think I can shut the fuck up. I don't think it's possible. I actually think that if the camera's going, I can go indefinitely as long as I've got, coffee and something to keep me awake. And so I've been able to take that and apply it to something that people regularly say helps them. It helps them It brings them closer to God. It helped them understand something they didn't before. They got community. They found their people. Whatever the thing is, somehow talking a lot has helped people, and it helps me. And so I like to think that it serves God. I believe that it serves God. So in that way, I don't think there's anything more fulfilling than doing what serves God, because I think that's what we're called to do. So for me, yeah, dude, it's huge. This is the greatest thing that I've ever done outside of, my marriage and having my son.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess I say I'm fulfilled. I don't really get fulfillment from doing the show. Like, this is never I've told you this before, like, doing a podcast is never a thing that I wanted to do. I always worked behind the scenes or worked on the side of podcasting because I like the medium of what it is. I guess I'm good at it. People like to watch me do it, so that's fine. But what I do like about the show is that it's helped me it's put me in a position where I could do fulfilling stuff. Like when I build stuff, like when we made the studio here, like for me, that's very fulfilling. Plugging in that wire is very fulfilling.
He loves wires. He's a big wire guy.
Love wires, or helping set people up to like either meet each other or go on bigger shows or whatever it is, like connections and stuff like that. That to me is fulfilling. So this show has helped put me in that position, and I think that that's really cool. So that's where I find the fulfillment. So yeah, I'm fulfilled, Daddy. Fill me up more. You know.
Good girl.
I'm mad at this shit.
Oh God.
All right. If you guys don't mind, for the people that may not know who you are, or where to find your show, if you want to plug where any of your stuff, websites, all that stuff.
Oh, tell them about what we're doing. Yeah,
Oh my God, yeah. So okay, first off, you can find it at Nephilim Death Squad anywhere. So YouTube, except for Rumble. I don't like Rumble, but YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Sprout, Podbean, all those other fucking things. I don't know what people use. There, we're over there too.
There's so
Patreon,
many.
There's so many of them, and I don't know any besides the two. I mean, we're on them all, but I don't know them. Patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. If you sign up there, you're going to gain early access to these episodes. We do like 5 to 6 episodes per week.
Wow.
And you get all kinds of perks, like you get to watch live and engage with the live chat, which is, we obviously aren't releasing the ones that we do immediately. So that's a real big perk. And you also be able to gain access to the communities. They're on Patreon because...
Oh, they're doing like a show. Well, it's Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, they're doing a Bible study tonight on this Wednesday, June 17th. So
I don't know when this will be released, but yeah.
So that's what the community's gotten together and started doing. They do their own thing now.
We've lost control of the community. They don't even respect us when we go in there.
Actually, for legal purposes, we have nothing to do with whatever it is that they're doing or organizing or plotting. And so, it's just to say that the community is really grown into this thing of its own, and people find a lot of value in that kind of like camaraderie. So, those things, you'll have access to all those spots too. It's like Telegram and Discord and everything. But we also do live events annually, semi-annually, whenever we can find a venue that will not kick us out and write articles about us. And we have another one coming up August 8th in Wildwood, Florida. It's called Bohemian Grove. And we're going to be getting together. Oh, there you go. There are these posters. A lot of people who have been on the show who, we consider friends of the show, they're all going to be there. It's the NDS community getting together. And, last time we had some big names like Sam Tripoli and Owen Benjamin. This time it's going to be more community driven, more of the people who have appeared regularly on this show. Plus we have some special secret guests. But
we have a some special secret
secret guests. You can get tickets for those at toplobster.com.
Timothy Alberino costume contest.
Oh, it's Timothy Alberino costume competition. That's right, where we're going to see who is. It's also coincidentally an Indiana Jones costume competition.
Call it Who's Your Daddy?
Who's your daddy? And then we get to crown daddy.
Yeah, I like that.
At the end of it, whoever wins. So, a lot of fun stuff coming up. If you're into that kind of a thing, toplobster.com, you'll see the tickets available, plus all of our merch that are designed by our very own in-house Puerto Rican. Very cool stuff. So, is that it? Is that everything?
Probably. I don't know.
I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. It means a lot. Time is our greatest currency because you can't get time back. So I really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with me. It means a lot. So, but for the listeners, real quick, if you don't mind, like, follow, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Leave a rating and review. That would help me out a lot. If your podcatcher does not allow you to leave a rating or a review, please consider doing so on the website where the weird ones are, podcast.com. That is also where you can get some merch, hot sauce, coffee, and some supplements. Read some of my short stories, my blog, whatever. Also for the movie, the GoFundMe is up there. It's right on the home page. We're looking to get funded, and that's pretty much what's holding us up right now. So other than that, again, check out Nephilim Death Squad. I enjoy the show. I think you guys will too if you haven't checked it out already. Again, thanks guys so fucking much. This was awesome.
Thank you,
It was
dude.
a fun
This was
chat.
fun. Thanks for having us on, brother.
Thank you. So everybody, you know the drill. Question everything and stay weird.
In the quiet of the night, when the world feels far, there's a voice through the static, like a falling star. It calls the misfits, the dreamers, the ones who see the shadows in the corners, the truth we barely believe. From the pine tree woods to the desert skies, they talk of ghosts and aliens with wonder in their eyes, not afraid to ask the questions that others won't dare, 'cause the world gets strange when you stop and stare. Come gather around where the weird ones are, by the fireside glow or a midnight car, where the stories run deep and the secrets fly like owls in the dark or stars in the sky. If you've ever felt lost, like you don't belong, you found your place, you found your song, right here where the weird ones are. They'll talk of cryptids, time slips, and deja vu, of spirits that linger, and what might be true. But more than the monsters, it's the people you'll find who dare to be open with curious minds. It's not about fear, it's the thrill of the ride, to question the world with wonder as guide. So pull up a chair, let your freak flag fly, we're the seekers of truth beneath the sky. Yeah, come gather around where the weird ones are, on the moonlit thoughts and cosmic scars, where the veil feels thin and the questions burn, and we chase the strange at every turn. You're not alone, not in the dark, you're with the tribe. You found the spark right here where the weird ones are. For the ones who wonder, for the ones who know, welcome home. In the quiet of the night, when the world feels far, there's a voice through the static, like a falling star. It calls the misfits, the dreamers, the ones who see the shadows in the corners, the truth we barely believe. From the pine tree woods to the desert skies, they talk of ghosts and aliens with wonder in their eyes, not afraid to ask the questions that others won't dare. 'Cause the world gets strange when you stop and stare. Come gather round where the weird ones are, by the fireside glow or a midnight car, where the stories run deep and the secrets fly like owls in the dark or stars in the sky. If you've ever felt lost like you don't belong, you found your place, you found your song, right here where the weird ones are. They'll talk of cryptids, time slips, and deja vu, of spirits that linger and what might be true. But more than the monsters, it's the people you'll find who dare to be open with curious minds. It's not about fear, it's the thrill of the ride, to question the world with wonder as guide. So pull up a chair, let your freak flag fly, we're the seekers of truth beneath the sky. Yeah, come gather around where the weird ones are, on the moonlit thoughts and cosmic scars, where the veil feels thin and the questions burn, and we chase the strange at every turn. You're not alone, not in the dark, you're with a tribe. You found the spark right here where the weird ones are. For the ones who wonder, for the ones who know, welcome home.